Hi, good evening, and welcome to my daily live session on various topics from my toolkit for execution excellence. My name is Dinakar. I am the founder of Samuthana and the inventor of Duho, a methodology for changing culture and mindset. With that very brief introduction about myself and what I'm doing every day on speaking about various tools and methods, let me directly go on to talk about a quick recap of what I spoke on Thursday. Friday, I didn't because I had to go to a customer. I'd mentioned that earlier, and I hope you had a nice weekend. So on Thursday, I'd spoken about standardized work, something which is the foundation of execution excellence, because once the jobs and the tasks or whatever is standardized, standardized doesn't mean that it is constant. It means that there is some kind of a reference with which one could compare the actual reality and find out if it is really working the right way or not. And based on that, I had explained as to what are the benefits of standardized work and what that is the core for achieving execution excellence in any industry, any role. And after that, I had also introduced very briefly that I'll be talking about task lead time today. Instead of that, I reorganized the topics and picked up a different topic, which may be of much more interest, which is about the analysis triangle, is what I call it as. So let me go to this mode. It's not that difficult to see there. So let me talk about this analysis triangle. In the standardized work, I had spoken about standard being there for any activity that we do, so that it becomes as a reference for comparing the actual reality with the planned or the intended expectation. So what is this analysis triangle is all about? I call it as analysis triangle because as a manager, each one of us are always confronted with one of our employees, one of our reports not possibly performing to the level that they're supposed to be performing, or in the other case, a situation where somebody is exceptional, and you need to understand what is it that drives this person to be so exceptional, and maybe use that as a learning for other people. That's the core essence of the managerial role or a leadership role. So I use this as a tool for analyzing my reporting. I used to do that in my executive career, and later I recommend that to all my clients and customers today as a consultant, as a management consultant. And what does this talk about? See, for any role, if you look at the performance, and there is another topic which I'll speak later during the week, which is the behavioral triangle. That is something which possibly precedes this, but it doesn't really matter. Behavioral triangle is to really look at what behavior you are observing, and based on that, to give a feedback. So before giving a feedback to anybody or before assessing anybody, I used to analyze using this triangle. There are three sides of the triangle. One is goal, skill, and attitude. What does this mean? Goal is, first question was whether the person who was supposed to perform an activity had clearly understood the goal or not. See, understanding the goal is not just about understanding the expectation. More than that, it is important to understand the answer to the question why. Why is something which is so deep rooted, because the moment we have an answer to the question why, a lot of actions happen naturally. Today, in fact, it was quite what should I say, experience participating in a weekly review with one of my clients. And there, the topic was that the resources planned was for a higher capacity rather than what is required. See, if you got some X capacity requirement based on the demand, and you know that the demand is constant at, let us say, 1000, and you are planning the capacity for 1500, for example, assuming that it could be 1500, then you always have 50% additional capacity within the organization, which is some kind of a problem for the entire managerial cadre, because 50% of the employees always have nothing to do. And what are you going to be asking them to do? How are you going to be allocating job to them? All these problems are there. So there, I was telling that, look, instead of doing that, you need to have buffer. I totally agree. There's absolutely no plan that can happen without a buffer. But at the same time, 50% buffer is quite high. So instead, we should reduce it, maybe come down to somewhere around 5% or 10% buffer, so that there is uniformity over the entire production, and the entire activity can be done smoothly. So this is what we spoke about. And of course, the management of that particular client was not very happy with what I said. They said that, look, management in the sense I'm talking about middle management. The top management, of course, was quite in sync, because if you got 50% excess capacity, you got huge cost, and that's a burden on the bottom line. Bottom line is the profitability. So it will eat away into the profits. If you are employing people who are not necessary, that would eat away into the profits. So the management was clear that what I asked was absolutely right. Whereas the middle management had a problem in understanding why is it that I'm asking that question. And then there was, to some extent, some kind of a irritation, some kind of a defensive revolt, I would say. So then what did I do? I said that, dude, that is what I would imagine. It's basically doesn't make any sense in having so much excess capacity. And later in the evening, I spoke to this middle manager to explain to him as to what is the purpose. If suppose what I started trying to tell him as to why is it that having such a huge buffer will be a problem for the organization and for the manager to manage. And as I started explaining to him, then he had started understanding the question why. Why is it that we should not have such a high buffer? It's quite interesting. I don't know whether you have understood or come across this concept. There is what is called as a reverse curve. If you have no buffer, then it is disaster. If you have huge buffer, then it is also a huge problem, because there will be traffic jams everywhere. It's like the road is too narrow, you can't drive at all. If the road is too wide and you've got so many vehicles just coming in, then you have total chaos. I remember the airport in Palermo. Palermo is the capital of Sicily. Sicily is considered as the, what should I say, the heartland of the Dons in Italy. And we had gone to visit Sicily. And then in Sicily, the corridor where the queue was supposed to be formed was quite wide, almost about 5 meters wide. And there were people everywhere. It was like a mob. And then I went inside. We were quite delayed. And after that, I asked them as to where is the queue to get into the security check. And somebody said, this is the queue. And that kind of a chaos will be caused if the capacity is huge. And there you could have made a corridor only for about maybe 2 lines. That would have been a better thing. So instead, having excess capacity means it will cause traffic jam. If it is very less capacity, then it will cause interruptions in production. You can't really deliver. So it's only crisis and chaos, crisis to be managed. More capacity will cause chaos. So that being the thing, when I explained to this middle manager as to why is it that we need to talk about capacity, then there is a total there's a natural readiness to execute something. So as a manager, one of the most important thing is to explain and answer the question why. So the first analysis would be for me to ask myself, if the employee has understood why is he supposed to do a particular activity, and why is the goal fixed? Is there goal clarity? That is the first aspect of the triangle, which is extremely important. Without having the goal clarity, nobody would really work on that. And the next thing, where again I am directly involved, one is the goal. And the second, as a manager, my job is to ensure that he is really skilled or she is really skilled to do that particular job. And there, to really understand whether the person is skilled, how do you do that? You ask them, how are you going to be achieving this goal? What do you want to do? What are your thoughts? Have a conversation in that sense. And when you can start conversing, they will say that, look, I'll go and collect this data, and after that I'll key it into the computer, make an Excel sheet, and after that, once the Excel sheet is done, I'll go and talk to my people. Maybe the person is explaining as to how he or she would go about doing it. And based on the wisdom of the manager, it is important to assess whether the person, whatever he explained, demonstrates a skill or not. There is no need for validating. Validating comes later, because you are delegating a task without really knowing. You're managing people where you may be delegating a task where you don't know what the skill of that person in that particular aspect is. Therefore, it's very easy to find out the skill by asking the question, how is he going to do it? How, the answer to the question how. First was goal, where you are answering the question why. Skill is a discussion to answer the question how. And for the goal, it's important that the manager does an introspection, a very, very deep introspection and reflection to understand whether the employee has understood the goal at all or not. And that can be done by a lot of visual cues and a lot of reactions. When you push the person, what kind of a reaction the person would have, how will he react to the importance of the goal, so many things. How important is the goal for him in his overall day-to-day work, those such things. And that is basically through introspection. There is no need to ask the question, do you know why it is to be done? You can definitely do that as the last resort, but initially I would say a lot of introspection, because the responsibility to ensure that the employee has understood why a particular job is to be done is 100% with the manager or the leader. 100%. There is no doubt at all on that. And again, it is totally personal. Many a times people say that, look, it's the management which wants it. That's absolute bullshit. It is. There is nothing like management. This is one of the first leadership lessons I learned in my career. There is no moment to say that there is management, then you are really shrugging your responsibility. There is nothing like management. It's only the leader. It's only you are the manager and you are the management. As far as the employee is concerned, the immediate superior is the management. So moment you start telling that management is wanting this, management policy and management guideline, that is all basically beating around the bush. The manager doesn't want it, so he's using all these excuses to justify why he doesn't want it. And he's not courageous enough to say that, look, I don't want it. And that's something which is mandatory for any manager. I assume that that is something which is a pre-given condition. And with that condition, one needs to be looking at why is the why answered by the employee very precisely, concisely, and thoroughly. And then skill is something which I mentioned, whether the employee can do it. The question how will the employee do it? So first is why and how. For answering the question how, it's important to discuss, and maybe you can also observe, find out, refer to your notes, how the employee, and also maybe ask others, how is he doing the job? How is very easy, people can see what's being done. So based on that, you can get an idea whether the person is skilled or not. And the third question, that is the third question, not the first question, though it is at the bottom, because the third question is the base for everything, is to talk about the attitude. So even if the person doesn't have the attitude, I would really say that it is 100% the manager's role is to ensure that the person understands what the goal is. I think Winston is talking about vision. Yeah, absolutely. When I say why, Winston, vision is part of why. Why is basically covering vision, why covering the purpose, covering the benefits, covering everything. Why is the one which covers vision too. And a skill is how. And once this is done, then comes the attitude. Attitude is want, whether the employee is wanting to do it or not. That's a different story altogether. It's possible that somebody has understood why he's supposed to do a job, why is the goal defined, and also has the skill to do it, but doesn't want to do it. How would you create the want? That's a very interesting discussion, isn't it? Normally, if I can generalize any employee in any company, every employee is going to the company to work, to really make a career, to really succeed, to really survive, to really shine, to really progress, to really grow. So these are all the objectives of any employee. No employee would go to the work not to work. That is really kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Who would go to work not to work? It doesn't really make sense at all. At the same time, there could be ambience which would not allow him to work, and therefore he's not interested in working for whatever reason. Then I'll come to that in a short while. So once the why is answered in a very clear way, and the person has understood why he is supposed to achieve a goal, and then he has got the skill to achieve the goal, he or she, and when I say he, she also is equally meant. So the woman community, please don't criticize me when I say she also is equally meant. So she would have the skill to do the job. Then generally the attitude is not a problem, because the employee wants to work. That is the fundamental principle of what is called as theory Y of motivation. I don't know whether you heard of that. Theory X was a theory which said that nobody is interested in working, which is possibly not very true. Today, in the modern world, theory Y is what I think is more popular. People are really trying to understand the organizations based on theory Y. If you want, you can Google that, theory X and theory Y of motivation. So theory Y talks about people wanting intrinsically being interested in working. And I believe in that. I am a very, very strong believer of theory Y. So therefore, the attitude can only be changed by multiple things. First is goal has to be clear. That means I know that it is important. It is going to benefit me. Second is I should be able to do that, so I'm comfortable. I'm not really going out of my comfort zone in a big way. Going slightly out of the comfort zone is a motivation, but not in a big way. And more than anything, the ambience is extremely important. What happens? What do my colleagues say? If I do the job, if I do the job, will my colleagues criticize me? Will my colleagues praise me? And these are all the things. And how do you address the word attitude? What to want to do it? See, all human beings have got four fundamental drivers of whatever that we do. First is survival. That means we are doing something to ensure that we are surviving. Second is we are doing something for ensuring that the humanity continues, in which case we are reproducing, we are making sure that the progeny grows, we are taking care of our kids, ensuring that the entire family is protected. So there is a second need to make sure that the life continues. And the third need is to be part of a group, because if you are part of a group, then you are protected. Therefore, you can survive. You can also ensure that the progeny is survived. Therefore, being part of the group is a third driver. And the fourth driver is something good for the humanity. But that is the one which is, you can call it as calling, where you are connected to some supreme power, some supreme force. I call it as the central energy source, wherein there is some kind of a improvement that you want to do for the entire community, and maybe learn in that process and then try to contribute back to the central energy source, which is my belief. So in doing so could be the fourth driver. So let me summarize that. First driver is the survival, second driver is progeny, and the third driver is group, and the fourth driver is mankind. So these are the four drivers. So once you identify where the problem lies, it could be because I'm not sure whether I can survive by doing this activity. My survival could be endangered, or my progeny could be endangered. Maybe I'm being asked to do something which means I cannot spend my time with my boy, with my girl at home. I cannot go home early and then play around with my boy, or maybe something to do with the family. I need to spend more time. Work-life balance will get disrupted. Or the third one could be that if I do this, my colleagues will feel that I am doing something for the boss. They feel that this fellow is very much close to the boss. He's some kind of a pally, very so pally with the boss. So it's not something good. Or he's doing something which is going to cause harm to us. That means that I will be thrown out of the group. That means I'll no longer be part of that group, is the third possibility. And the fourth possibility is I wanted to always help mankind in trying to foster let us say help in the society. I wanted to give lot of benefits to the people, and then the goal which I have got is to reduce the headcount. How am I going to do that? That could be another reason why somebody may not want to do it. Let us say the goal is to reduce the headcount, whereas my contribution to the mankind is to really see is to make sure that the entire society grows, people are happy, people are being contributed to. So I feel there is a conflict there. That could be the other reason. So we need to understand this. Again, manager's role, not the employee's role. Understand these drivers and then act upon that. Again, thanks a lot, Winston, for bringing that topic. Good attitude brings gratitude. Absolutely right. The good attitude arises from the inner feelings, inner drivers. And these are the four drivers: survival, progeny, group, and mankind. And from this drives the good attitude, and good attitude brings gratitude, obviously. And there is a lot of reciprocity there. Therefore, if you do this kind of an analysis, and this analysis has to be done by the manager again. Let me repeat. All the three analysis is the job of the manager. Before you go and talk to any employee, instead of telling that you are useless, or you are really good, you are doing a great job, or you need to improve here, you need to improve there. All those are all fantastic things, but then you are telling everything from your own perspective. Whereas that person is outstanding, he's a great human being. And that's discovery, and that acceptance that he's a great human being or she is a great human being is the first step to really achieving excellence in leadership, excellence in management. And to do that, the path which I am showing you is to do the analysis using this triangle of the goal, skill, and attitude. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope it was interesting to you and you could get some ideas. Maybe tomorrow you go back to your desk and then start looking at your worst performing employee. Pick up the worst performing employee. Find out answers to these three questions. Has this employee understood the goal? Does this employee have the skill? Does the employee have the attitude? And why is the employee not having the attitude? Again, look at four drivers: survival, progeny, group, or mankind. Where is it that is pinching him not to do something which he would like to do? Because he has understood the goal and he has the capacity to do it. Once you have done that homework, then after that, prepare yourself for a discussion, then call the employee for a discussion. You would see magical results because you have done that homework, and just having done that homework will give the employee so much amount of satisfaction and so much amount of confidence and trust in you as a leader that you have done the homework before calling the employee. And in my experience, it's a ABC analysis. A is goal, B is skill, and C is attitude. Like I said, people don't come not for working. First is goal. Goal is not understood at all. The purpose is not understood. I am doing something for the sake of doing. There is nobody inspiration. Why should I do this job? It doesn't really take me anywhere. That's the general situation in the in the industry, and today it is even more intense in my opinion. So that's something which we need to work on, because the younger generation is extremely inspired, extremely energetic, extremely knowledgeable, and extremely good in network thinking. They can connect dots very, very fast. So with all that, unless there is a strong purpose in whatever they're doing, that kind of internal inspiration is naturally missing. Therefore, the manager's role and the leader's role to manage the younger generation is even more complex, even more stronger. So it's important that that kind of a passion. It doesn't mean that the manager has to be pally. Manager can be emotional, can have emotional outbursts, because that again is something against the normal industry jargon I speak, because a manager also is a human being. There is nothing wrong in having emotions, and there's no need to really say that, look, I'm always going to be pally, always giving a pat on the back. But most important is the manager has understood these three answers. Then it's possible for the manager to shout, to cry, to really laugh, and to really coax, anything the manager can do after answering these three questions. If you have not answered these three questions, then you have to be pally, you have to be coaxing, you have to be always giving a praise, compliments, to make sure that your team is at least extrinsically happy, and they've put on a happy face. But that doesn't really take you anywhere, because you're not really getting the best out of that person. Thanks a lot for watching. And let me just give you a very brief as to what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, which is about the timely escalation. This is again a very interesting topic. I love this, and let us talk about that. And thanks a lot again, Winston, for your comments. And let me show the last comment which Winston shared here, which is extremely important. Resilience is the key. Absolutely true. It cannot be something which can be done in one day. It's like because all of us are people, it's like making babies. You need 9 months. It cannot be done overnight. So you need time. So thanks a lot for sharing that. And resilience is extremely necessary to be able to give that time. So with that, as I come to the end of today's live session, let me again request you to please register yourself for the web workshop this Sunday. You can visit dinakarmurthy.com, and then you get a pop-up there, and just click on the registration link, and you can register to the Do-How web workshop on sales and marketing. So with that, for those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead, and see you tomorrow, more or less the same time at 8:30. If you have noticed, I have started publishing the 8:30 live session in all the social media platforms as an event, so that you can plan it out every day. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.